Well, hi everyone. I'm John Ritlin with a review of two psychological thriller horror movies that I just watched, 1BR and Swallow. One of these I loved, one of these I absolutely hated. Like any multi-movie review that I do, there will be spoilers throughout. So, let's start off with 1BR, a movie that I'd heard quite a bit about. And if you wonder what 1BR stands for, it stands for brace yourselves, one battle royal. No, I'm kidding. It stands for one bedroom because you have a character named Sarah that is looking for a one bedroom apartment and finds one, and the neighbors are all friendly, but maybe everything is not what it seems. And I'd heard a lot of good things about this. I heard it's not all that bad. It's not what you would expect. You think it's going to go this way, and it goes in a completely different direction. And the direction it goes to is right in the fucking shitter. This movie is goddamn atrocious. This is one of the worst things I've seen this year. This is one of the worst things I've seen in the last 5 years. And I understand what they were trying to do. Basically, again, spoilers. This young woman named Sarah has moved out to LA. She gets an apartment, and has a good word put in for her by a guy that she likes that lives in the same complex. She isn't supposed to bring pets. She brings a cat. This cat gets dispatched by being fried in the oven, so automatically I'm not necessarily for this movie because I don't like animal violence in my horror movies. Now, I know that they didn't actually kill a cat, and it actually was a pretty bad dummy or stuffed animal that they killed. But I happen to be a cat person. I don't really like seeing that shit. I don't really like seeing animals get killed in movies. But it is what it is. Sometimes it's supposed to advance the plot. The problem is this movie has such a thin plot that it turns out that these nice people, these, really, really nice people, this old lady and this weird guy that's trying to hand off this book to Sarah, and all the cool people up to the landlord are part of a Christian death cult, and they assimilate Sarah into their ranks and everything. She's got to cut ties with everybody, including this new coworker that she had, that she developed a friendship with, and also her dad that she's estranged with, because it turns out that the dad actually slept with the nurse who was taking care of her dying mother who had cancer. And yeah, this movie is absolute shit. I can't even mix words. I can't even come up with much of anything creative to say about this. They put her in. It's obvious that this movie was made on a small budget. There's nothing wrong with that. You can actually make a pretty good movie on a small budget. But the thing is, it was taking place in like maybe 5 rooms at the most. They isolate her in this room with all this boarded up stuff, and she has to keep her hands on these parts of the wall when the lights are on. And if she doesn't, they nail her hands to the wall, and it's basically a way to psychologically break her down and rebuild her in their image. And yeah, and then she has to basically get everybody away, get her dad away after assimilating into this cult. And then her friend, her coworker, gets into this complex, and then, they try to assimilate her. But oh wait, Sarah stabs the guy in the neck with this chisel thing, or this screwdriver that he's trying to put in the girl's ear to give her some kind of weird lobotomy or something like that. And then she gets shot, and basically she ends up killing him, and by shooting him, and then escapes by shooting a few other people. So suddenly she's out, and wait, it turns out that it isn't just this complex, it's a whole bunch of complexes all down this giant road that are part of this Christian death cult thing. And it's really fucking stupid. It's really, really stupid. There are no characters worth rooting for, and it's not even that the acting is bad. It's just very one note, and none of the characters are more than paper thin cliched versions of like anything else you've seen in any other movie. So while I understand where they were trying to go with a different direction, the problem is, again, it went right in the goddamn shitter. So 1BR gets a goddamn F. It gets a fucking F. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Now let's move on to something that I shockingly liked because I wasn't sure about the premise. Swallow. You have a woman named Hunter, Haley Bennett, who was in The Haunting of Molly Hartley. Oh dear, that movie. That's one of the worst horror movies I've ever goddamn seen, at least in the last 20 years. So she is a girl that turns out she's actually had a bit of a fucked up past, as we find out as the movie goes on. This is much more of a suspense, psychological art house type, where it's very much a study of the human psyche and how the human psyche can be affected by tragic events and stuff that they find out, and not being treated well, not being treated and not necessarily coddled, but when they are raised in a not so good environment, and then they move on to an environment that they think will work for them. They marry, and they think it's going to work out, but it turns out this is just another version of a bad, situation, bad, like family situation. Maybe that can really damage a person. And What does Hunter do to supplement this? Well, her and her husband Richie seem happy together, and even though it's obvious that she's a bit off because of her past, they do actually care for each other, or do they? Well, it turns out that there's a whole lot more to this. Eventually, she does get pregnant. They're all happy and everything, even though she came from nothing and he's a rich guy, and maybe the parents think that she's latching on to him to get the money to have a free ride through life. Granted, that happens in some marriages. It seems that she genuinely cares about him. But then, as she feels more ignored and everything, she starts kind of acting out by suddenly developing a, habit of eating objects like a marble, inedible objects, and then eating a push pin, and even at one point eating like, a little, like one of those little like mini screwdriver things, and various other objects. And at first, she's able to hide this. She's able to just basically have them as keepsakes by passing them and getting in, keeping them like, on like a display. But then, because she's pregnant, eventually she has an ultrasound. It turns out that there is, an object that she was not able to pass. And her husband is understandably pissed. He doesn't want the baby damage, and he doesn't know why she didn't tell him about this. They decide to get her therapy. Through these therapy sessions, it turns out that, she's a product of assault. That kind of assault. That's the furthest I'm going to go with that word. I'm not going to use the R word, basically, is what I'm not going to say. And she is the product of that. And she knows her mother didn't blame her, but she says that, but you kind of got to wonder with the way she's saying, maybe she's lying, maybe she's projecting. She even has a bit, this is how psychologically damaged she is. And Haley Bennett did a goddamn fabulous job in this movie. I gotta say that much. She is definitely the highlight, since the movie is mainly focused on her and her character and her slow and then rapid descent rather into, like, just fractured psychosis, and just her world is basically just shattering because she thought she had the perfect marriage, but then it turned out she hadn't dealt with these issues, and it just got a whole lot worse. It got a whole lot worse for her. I mean, it really got bad. And through these therapy sessions, she's talking to her therapist that that her husband's family is paying for because she can't afford it. She's trying to find out about, why swallowing the objects, why did you develop this? And, she's still trying to carry the baby to term. And my God, this movie is very jarring. I was actually at points cringing because she was swallowing some objects. And that doesn't happen for me very often. Now, it is a movie that definitely stuck with me, though. And that's mainly down to Haley Bennett's performance. Now, the other performances are very good. This is also well shot. Cinematography was fucking fabulous. There were lots, really good, tightly focused shots. You had some sweeping ones. They just really had a nice focus on the house and focused solely on Haley Bennett's character, Hunter. And she was able to carry this. Now, I know this movie will probably divide some people, and then people may not care as much for it as others. This could be something you either love or you hate. And honestly, I did not. I actually expected at first I was going to hate this movie. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to give it a chance, because after watching 1BR, which I hated, by the way, just want to say that, I wanted to give this a chance, and I'm glad I did. As things go on, she even keeps a picture of the guy, the guy that assaulted her, and that assaulted her mother, rather, and that's her actual father. And she goes to visit him a little bit later because there's this nurse that gets hired, this well-intentioned guy, and he is trying to take care of her, watch over her and everything, because the rich family cannot take care of her 24 hours a day. They have their own lives. And basically at one point she's depressed, she falls asleep under the bed, and then so does he, because he's trying to take care of her. He cares about her, but also he's a family friend. He's trying to make sure that she's okay. Then she wakes up and swallows that weird, screwdriver thing, and basically ends up needing surgery. She doesn't lose the baby, but she is basically going to be sent to a psych ward. Well, that nurse guy helps her escape, and she escapes and gets to a hotel, and basically the husband wants her to come back. Now, he's playing nice and everything, but it turns out that he really just wanted a wife, and he just wanted his baby. He didn't really care about her. And he says, well, you either come back or I'm going to hunt you down, you ungrateful third layer of the alphabet. I mean, I'm trying to, maintain a little bit here with these reviews, and not say some words. Even though I love saying that word, it's a really good word because you can apply it to men and women. But I digress. she says that she's not going to come back. He's like, I want my baby. You can't keep my kid away from me. And then a little bit later, she goes to meet the man, her father that assaulted her mother. And she basically talks to him. The guy had been in prison for a while. He had suffered a whole lot of loss, and whatever. He took advantage of somebody like that, so he should have suffered that. But he had a wife and he had a kid, and she basically just talked to him. It's like, hey, she got upset, but am I like you? No, you're not like me at all. And then she ended up getting some pills to have, to basically get rid of the kid. She got rid of the kid. And then that ended. She left. Who knows what was going to happen with her? And then the credits basically show a bunch of people using the bathroom, because with that mall that she did that, she ate at the food court, took the pills, and then had that, and then passed the kid. And then it was just a sweeping thing, and the music was really good too. But Haley Bennett is the one that anchors this movie. She pulls it off well, at least in my personal opinion, because she just has this weird fractured, like, holy crap, she's really goddamn off. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. By the way, I got to give this an A. This movie really goddamn good. I really enjoyed it, but I can understand why some people didn't. So yeah, 1BR gets an F and Swallow gets an A. Boy, that's about as polar opposite as you can get. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.